an army, and we need to be in an order. And we need to know what that order looks like. And that order may not look like the kind of order you think order is. So, this is a life hack of religious games, and I'm going to start off this part of that message with the understanding of tithes and offerings for New Testament believers. Okay? So, I'm going to read out of the Old Covenant, and I'm going to be in Deuteronomy 18, and I'm going to start in verse 1. It's on the screen behind me if you can read it. We're not sure because we're learning how to interact our camera with the television set, but I've got my iPad here and I'm going to use it, and we're going to hopefully give you something to look at and read while I'm reading. Okay, so the priests, the Levites, or in the original it says Livium, and all the scion of Levi. Okay, scion is the head of household. Okay, the one in charge. Okay, and so though I don't believe in a one-man head pastor concept being the all-encompassing concept of church or the ecclesia, I do believe that the Lord does raise up captains of tens and fifties and hundreds and thousands and 10,000s. I believe that the Lord does place leadership in the, in one man at seasons of time. But if that one man is wise, that one man will create a team around him and humble himself and not be the one in focus at all times. And that's my problem with today's religious systems that we call church. So that being said, I do believe in leadership, and I do believe that the Lord honors a shepherd's responsibilities, and that any fivefold ministry that comes along and tries to just upend what a shepherd's doing on a local level is treading on thin ground. But at the same time, you cannot find anywhere in the New Testament where a pastor gift was the lead ministry in any apostolic work in the New Testament. Okay? You don't see that. You see apostles and prophets being the pioneers who burst things forth and make them happen and realized, but you also see that they appoint shepherds and teachers and evangelists and apostles and prophets for the future of that ministry. So those things are developed over time. And if a shepherd, I'm going to go with what John Wimber used to say, and I wasn't really a big John Wimber fan, but he was the spokesman for the Vineyard Ministries. And he said at one point, he said that he believes every movement of the Lord in the New Testament concept should be dismantled after 10 years. And he was right, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't dismantle the vineyard. He should have, but he didn't. And because of it, it didn't go the way he had even envisioned in his own ministry. But that being said, I'm not picking on John Wimber. I'm just using that as an example that, there's a lot of leaders who, they know that if they can keep doing the same things over and over again, it doesn't serve the purpose of the Lord. And it needs to be broken up. And new leadership needs to come forth continually. And I'd say even that leadership needs to be moving, not just stationary all the time. And what I mean by that is that if one voice is there too long, then other voices never get developed. And so if we are there to equip the saints to do the work of ministry, how can we do that if one person is in the limelight for 10, 20, 30 years? Nobody else will ever have a voice to that group. Okay, so that's my opinion, and it's based in a lot of Bible. And if you want to, go Bible touche with me, make an appointment. TL@2TLSP.com. That's my email address. Send me an email and say, hey, Tim, I want to hash this out with you. I want to go, and maybe I'll find that I'm in error in something. And maybe you'll find you're in error in something. But that's how we work these things out, right? Okay, so, verse 1. The priests, the Levites, and all the heads of Levi have neither allotment nor inheritance with Israel. They eat the firings to Yahweh and his inheritance. Firings being those things that were offered by fire. In those days it was sheep and oxen and the red heifer, the oxes and all the different offerings that they offered to the Lord. And that was their inheritance. The Levites didn't work a job, so to speak. They participated in the offerings that were burnt by fire. That's how they fed their households. And because they were a bartering community, it wouldn't surprise me if, hey, you know, one of the Levites had a side of beef and he needs a hat made, or he needs a tent made, or something like that. And he goes to the tent maker or the hat maker and he says, hey, I'll give you a quarter of this side of beef if you will make me 1,000 hats, or if you'll make me a tent. See, the Levites had that privilege. That was their inheritance in the Lord. Okay? So, and they have no inheritance among the brothers. Verse 18, verse 2. Yahweh is their inheritance. And he said to them, or worded to them, every time the word worded is in the original, it means a word contract. Okay? So, it's a covenant word. As he worded to them, and so be it, the judgment for the priest from the people, from them who sacrifice a sacrifice, whether ox or lamb, give the priest the foreleg. Okay? So there I was talking about half a side of beef, and here he's saying the foreleg. So, you know, go with what the word, you know, means to you. And the 2 cheeks and the belly. The firstling of your crop and your juice, firstling of your crop, of your juice, and of your oil. So not just the sacrifices that were animals, but also the first of your flocks and the first of your oil. Those things were for the priesthood, okay? And we are a kingdom of priests unto our God. And I'm going to keep saying that so that you really get this in your spirit. And the 2 cheeks and the belly, in verse 4, the firstling of your crop and of your juice and of your oil, and the first of the shearing of your sheep, give him. It doesn't say manipulate him with it. It doesn't mean if he doesn't preach your doctrine, then he can't have it. It says give it to him. It's his due. He didn't have to earn it. It was graced upon his Levitical position. Okay? And so I'm going to get into this a little heavier, and it's going to get sharp for some people out there. Okay? Some people are going to get cut on this two-edged sword. For Yahweh your Elohim chose him from all your heads of households to stand to serve in the name of Yahweh, or to minister. He and his sons all the days of their lives. Okay? So it is passed down in family. And I don't believe that it has to be that way in the New Testament. It was in the Old, but it wouldn't surprise me at all, one little bit, to find out, if you did a genetic study on who is out there doing the work of ministry full-time, you're going to find that there's Levitical blood in them. But again, I'm not being legalistic about that. And I know that there's always exceptions when God does things. He always leaves room for exceptions. Because otherwise, we get back into divination, don't we? Okay. Chapter 18, verse 6. And if a Levi comes from one of your portals or your gates, and you guys know Lion's Gate Missionary Vision, and I've explained to you over and over that the word gate is better translated portal. Okay? So, if a Levi comes from one of your portals, from all Israel where he sojourns, and comes with all the desire of his soul. Okay, now, it doesn't say he was commissioned. It doesn't say a board of directors got together and decided he was going to go do that. It's very clear here that it says if the Levite, the individual, becomes convinced, and there's a burning in his soul, in his heart, to go do some work other than his prescribed post, then here's how you're to treat him. From all Israel, wherever he sojourns, and comes with all the desire of his soul, to the place Yahweh chooses. In other words, he's convicted that the Lord told him to do this. Your job is not to get in the way and try to figure out if he heard God or not. Your board of directors aren't anointed to figure out whether they heard God or not. Okay? That's the hard part for you organized religious people. Hello, this is Timothy Laval. To support our work, write your check to the Lion's Share Portal, Inc. We want to thank you in advance for your giving, and you can mail that check to P.O. Box 521, Idlewild, California, 92549, in care of Timothy Laval. Thank you very much, and shalom.